Hey GBA fans, I'm your friend Choice CJ, and I'm bringing you guys week 11 of the Pick'em crew, and unfortunately once again, Gregulator is out of commission. He's duking it out with Coach Z once again, so let's hope that he can bounce back and he can figure out a way to sort out their differences. If he has to sign another NDA, so be it, but we'll try to get him back for the next week. But let's not waste any time here. I'm in a bit of a time crunch as the upload time for this video is near approaching. So let's do our quick recap of week 10. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of red on here, just like there was last week. I think these 2 weeks, these most recent weeks, were the 2 worst weeks in recent GBA memory for Pick'em crew. Because once again, hardly anybody did better than 500, and even the fans ended up with a 4-4 record. It could have been even worse had Shimpact not been able to bring the game back versus the Victorian Shadows. That was a game that went down to the wire, with that substitute Nihilego being able to take on the Metagross and just being able to polish off the rest of the team. Other big upsets, notably, is the Columbus Chew were able to finally pick up a W, their first W of the season over the Melbourne Rotoms. And shoutouts to Itsock for locking the Chew in that game, looking like a man, and getting that picked correct. Otherwise, everything was sort of all over the place. Few upsets, such as Wolfie beating John. Unfortunately, all of those Hurricane misses and Power Whip misses. And then Aster continuing his winning streak, beating Tom, and adding to his record. I think he now has 4 wins on the season, so not bad, not bad. Definitely improving. So with that, let's now hop to Sock for our quick introduction to the fan picks for week 11.
Yo, what's going on? Sports Talk back with another week for the Discord pick'ems. This week, you guys have decided to lock the Bronx Bearticks over the Melbourne Rotoms. You guys have picked the San Diego Chimchargers over the San Francisco Giants. You guys have picked the Detroit Steelwings to stop the Columbus Chews win streak. You guys have picked the Kansas City Toronto Chiefs over the Borussia Donphan, the Philadelphia Scissors over the Montreal Habsouls, the Florida Gators over the Milwaukee Bears, the San Jose Sharpedos over the Victorian Shadow, and the Tampa Bay Luxrays over the New Orleans Pelipers. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Sock. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through each of these in incredible detail. Also, I don't have Greg with me to banter with and talk about all these matchups. But we'll start with the San Francisco Giants versus San Diego Chimchargers. As a quick note, all of these games are rematches of the Week 2 battles. These are all divisional battles, so extremely important, especially for certain teams that are jockeying for playoff position. Gio is one of those teams, and even though he's been on a little bit of a losing streak lately, he could still potentially sneak into playoffs if he wins the next 2 and get some help from the rest of the other teams. But in this matchup, Mega Pinsir did a lot of damage to Gio's team before, so he's gonna have to find some creative ways to stop that. The Rotom fan, maybe he brings like a Charty Berry set or something to help wall the Mega Pinsir. On Gio's side, he made some really nice plays with Dugtrio before. Dugtrio was able to catch Tapu Koko and Empoleon, able to remove both of those things. And I think Dugtrio will once again have to be used very skillfully in order to do some damage to MB's team. The next matchup is between the Detroit Steelwings and the Columbus Chew. Now, the Columbus Chew are indeed coming off of their first game, their first victory in a game this season. But unfortunately, the Chew did not fare so well against Crimson and his Detroit Steelwings the last time. Thunderous Incarnate put in a lot of work, getting 5 kills, but I'm not sure that that's going to be a repeat this time, because the Chew do have a much better electric immunity, being Hippowdon, should be able to deal with that much better. It's true that Thundy does get coverage moves like Grass Knot to hit a Hippo extremely hard, but if it has to pack a coverage move like that, it means that there's less room for it to run Double Dance setup sets and things of that nature. You also look at something like Gardevoir, and that thing obviously is an incredible wall breaker, and while the majority of Gio's team is extremely fast and offensive, you do have Mons like Donphan, Cofagrigus, Volibee that don't appreciate Mega Guard, so Crimson's probably going to have to go full on 100% offense this week. And that might change up the result of this game. So we'll have to wait and see. Third up, we do have the Borussia Donphan, coached by El Scizor, going up against the Kansas City Giraffe Chiefs coached by Jolt of the Token Minorities. And this is another matchup where Lars is, pretty much in a must-win situation. He wasn't able to get a win last week versus MV, and if he wants to get into playoff position, he really needs to pull off an upset here. Jolt won't be making that easy. I think that Jolt's team is relatively similar to what it was before. He had made some transactions from the draft, picking up Aerodactyl and picking up Braylon and things like that, but I think that already had occurred at the time of this matchup. And then Lars had also already made all of his changes. He picked up Mega Manetric for week 2 and things like that. So, if that's going to be the case, like, Jolt's going to have to play very carefully around Lars's team, just because Lars has so many wall breakers that naturally deal with the sort of bulky style that Jolt has going for him this season. Like, Jolt obviously is aware of that. He's not going to bring a full-on balanced squad against Lars. He's going to bring some faster threats to help neutralize the wall breaking capability of Lars. So you might have things like Scarf Guard to outspeed Kieran Black, or things like that. Venusaur, even though it's sort of fodder for Kieran Black, maybe he can bring a fast set for helping deal with that. It's also a great response for Finny and Manetric and things like that. So definitely a matchup I'm looking forward to a lot this week. We also have the Melbourne Rotoms, coached by Aaron Cybertron Zhang, going up against Joey and the Bronze Bearticks. There was arguably a little bit of hacks in this game the first time, and it did result in Aaron with getting a 3-0 victory. There was some unfortunate sleep talk turns and some other status hacks that I know, prevented Joey's Mega Gyarados from doing a lot of work. And Kartana and Ludicolo both getting a lot of kills. But we'll have to see if Joey suffers the same fate. It seems like Joey's been improving a little bit in the last few weeks, getting some nice wins, beating Jolts just a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, and that was a huge, upset at the time. And so, is he going to be able to better deal with all the rain sweepers that Aaron has? We will have to see. Then we have the Montreal Habsols in the Philadelphia Scissors. This was an extremely one-sided game the first time these two faced off, with Chimp getting a 5-0 victory over Aster. But I think that the both of these teams are headed in opposite directions. Aster has been on the up and up in the last few weeks, doing an extremely good job of beating tough opponents like Tom and Jolt, Wolfie, etc. Whereas Chimp has really been struggling, barely winning last week, pulling out a nail-biter of a victory versus Necrostevo, but otherwise, losing games to Mono and Gator, and just not looking at his top form in general. And so, is Aster going to be able to pull off yet another upset here? There's a decent chance, I think so. Aster's been doing really well with Mega Lopunny lately, and so we'll have to see if Chimp can, rely enough on his Uxie and his Victini and his Tapu Bulu to wall that thing, or, Aster has lots of ways to weaken those mons down. Like Scolipede in particular, Darmanitan are all really good wall breakers. Scolipede can break through Uxie and Tapu Bulu extremely easily, paving the way for Lopunny, and if he's packing a Tech Rage set to help snipe Victini, that could potentially also clear the way for Lopunny. So if there's some recipe there, using those two mons to wall break for one another, I think we could see an upset, and we could see Chimp go down here. Next match is between the Florida Gators and the Milwaukee Bewares. And Gator is, has really proved himself this season. He's one of the top teams at the moment. And Wolfie as well has proven that he's not someone who can be overlooked. He's jockeying for playoff position after getting a nice win versus John last week, even if it was sort of boosted by some of those hacks that I mentioned earlier. But Gator just, I think, matches up extremely well versus Wolfie still. Even though Wolfie's got some more offensive threats now than he did when they played earlier in the season. He's got the Entei now, he's got Mega Absol, which he did not have in the first matchup. But otherwise, things like Mamoswine, Heatran, Buzzwole all look really fantastic versus Wolfie. And, Wolfie, even though he traditionally likes sort of the bulky Trick Room strats, he might have to switch it up in order to take on Gator if he wants to continue his pursuit of a playoff spot. Next we have the Victorian Shadows, coached by Necro Stevo, and the San Jose Sharpedos. Tom has really been down on his luck lately, losing some games to the likes of John and Aster and so on. But Necro Stevo, unfortunately, is now the last remaining winless team in the GBA now that the Columbus Chew picked up their first W. But, you know, I think just based on his team composition, like, he still could potentially pull up an upset here. Scizor in general is just so pressured on Tom's side. It needs to take hits from Alakazam, potentially like T-Tar or Lycanroc, or at the very least it's being relied upon to check those things offensively. And then like Araquanid and Rotom Heat can switch in somewhat well to Scizor as well. So Scizor, you know, it's got to do a lot of offensive roles this week, but it can't be checked defensively. So we'll have to see how that one goes. And last but not least, we do have the New Orleans Pelipers versus the Tampa Bay Luxrays. This is a game that went in favor of Mono the first time, but if you remember from that battle, it was kind of weird. It was played on Showdown, it was played at the last minute. John brought some really weird sets. He brought like the Curse Houndoom that ended up not working out very well. And just overall, it didn't seem like he was all there for that game. And so this time around, like, John has been going on a, you know, he had been on like a pretty nice win streak up to the last week when he unfortunately lost to Wolfie. And so in this week, I think he's going to be really motivated to pull out a W and secure his playoff position. And even though it's versus a tough opponent like Mono, you know, there's, you know, he could potentially pull it off. Mono, on the other hand, you know, he's going to be looking to clinch his one of his top overall spots, because he's got a very, very good record going into this game, and he can potentially secure his playoff position. So it's going to be a close call one way or the other, and I will be excited to watch it regardless of who the victor is. With that said, that was your lightning fast review of the Week 11 games, and I do hope you guys enjoyed them all. If you want to be voting on the fan picks, make sure you join our Discord server with a link down below, and you can hop in there, make the fan picks, and there's a whole lot of other cool content going on in the Discord channel. You get notifications whenever videos go up for your favorite teams. There's lots of cool discussion going on there, so definitely check it out. And if you liked this video, make sure you subscribe to the GBA channel, and also make sure you subscribe to all of our coaches so you can stay up to date on the weekly action. Thank you very much. I've been Choice CJ, and until the next time, I'll see you guys later.